After the nuclear explosion, a group of survivors hides in a bunker, only to face worse dangers. A girl named Eva watches in horror as a nuclear explosion destroys New York. Her boyfriend Sam immediately grabs her hand, and, like the other residents of their apartment building, they panic and rush down the stairs. The building begins to collapse, and more explosions can be heard outside. 9 people break away from the crowd and decide to hide in the basement, where Mickey, the building's superintendent, ushers them in. As the survivors try to recover, Mickey starts the generator and securely locks the door behind them, sealing the gaps with tape. He immediately lays down the rules, as if he had been preparing for this catastrophe for a long time. Mickey forbids anyone from opening the door until the radiation clears, insisting that they can only survive if they follow his instructions. Suddenly, the shelter shakes from another tremor. A man claims it's not a new explosion, but a collapse of the building. A girl named Wendy starts crying, saying she wants to leave, but Mickey insists they must stay in the basement or else the radiation will burn them alive. Eva notices that her phone has no signal, and Adrienne confirms that the connection is indeed lost. Mickey hands Delvin a walkie-talkie, but it too fails to reach the outside world. Mickey then gives the survivors a brief tour of the basement. He shows them what he calls a bathroom, but tells them there's no extra water for showers. Moreover, they can't flush the toilet and must use lime instead. Eva notices another door, but Mickey tells her it leads to his room, which no one, except him, is allowed to enter. Wendy's mother, Marilyn, asks if there is any food in the shelter, and Mickey opens a few cans of baked beans. After a quick snack, Delvin tries the walkie-talkie again, but all he hears is static. Adrienne asks Mickey when they'll be able to get out, but he repeats that they'll stay there as long as he says. Josh doesn't like this answer and suggests to his cousin Adrienne and their friend Bobby that they leave right now. The men head for the exit, but an enraged Mickey raises an axe and orders them to step away from the door.
Get over!
They have to step back, and Mickey recalls how, during other nuclear disasters, the skin of living people peeled off, and their bodies were covered with tumors. Eva asks him not to continue with such an unpleasant topic, but Mickey is trying to explain that if anyone attempts to leave, radioactive dust will seep into the basement, and it will be the end for all of them. The next day, Eva sorts through her purse, and Sam notices she's still keeping his business card. He insists that they will get through all of this because they love each other, but Eva silently remains lost in thought. For lunch, the survivors are served beans again. Josh sighs in frustration, complaining that they'll have to eat this disgusting food for the rest of their lives. His words upset Mickey. He emotionally reminds everyone that they've survived only thanks to him and that he's sharing food with them, food he could easily eat alone. Sam is struck by how they're arguing over beans when their loved ones are already gone. He becomes hysterical, shouting that Mickey won't be able to save anyone. He continues angrily blaming Mickey for everything, and Mickey, unable to take it anymore, slaps him across the face. Noticing that Wendy is terrified, Mickey reassures her that he won't hurt her and distracts her by making her focus on his disappearing finger. Suddenly, there's noise outside the entrance door. It's clear someone is trying to open the door from the outside, and everyone hopes it's rescuers. However, Mickey isn't as optimistic and orders everyone to turn off the lights in the basement. The strangers outside begin cutting through the door with a gas cutter, and some continue to hope for salvation. Soon, several armed men in protective suits enter the basement. Adrienne tries to convince them to lower their weapons, insisting they are peaceful civilians, but the strangers punch him in the stomach and move deeper into the basement, eyeing the survivors closely. Marilyn tries to hide Wendy behind her, but the armed men spot the girl and pull her away from her mother, ignoring her desperate pleas. While some of the intruders hold Marilyn, others inject Wendy with an unknown substance and carry her out of the basement in a protective capsule. The survivors scatter in fear throughout the shelter, but the strangers continue their hunt. Eva hides in the shower, and one of the armed men discovers her. Luckily, Delvin quietly approaches from behind and strikes him with an axe. Meanwhile, Mickey attacks another intruder with a knife, grabs his weapon, and shoots him. Another enemy is about to shoot Sam, but Mickey manages to kill him too. After ensuring no armed strangers are left alive, Mickey switches on the lights and rushes to the door, locking it with a chain. Bobby and Josh find the wounded Adrienne, and Eva, clearly concerned for him, immediately rushes to his side. Along with Delvin, they tend to Adrienne's wound and remove a bullet from it. Soon, Eva realizes Sam is nowhere to be found and starts searching for him. Fortunately, Sam has survived, and he's relieved to see that Eva is okay as well. Shocked, Marilyn struggles to cope with the loss of Wendy, and Mickey once again seals the door with tape. Then, Delvin and Josh inspect one of the bodies and remove the protective suit. Mickey claims that the attackers were wearing radiation suits and suggests that the nuclear disaster might have been orchestrated by America's enemies. When they remove the helmet, they realize that at least one of the attackers is Asian, which might indicate he's from North Korea. Suddenly, the survivors notice Marilyn trying to peel the tape off the door, attempting to escape the basement and find her daughter. The men lock her in a storage room, where she continues to scream desperately. They then gather all the bodies and wrap them in plastic, as they cannot dispose of them just yet. Delvin tries once more to contact the outside world using the radio. However, all he manages to hear is a stranger's voice, saying, "Finish the cleanup," with an American accent. Mickey demands that Delvin turn off the radio, suspecting that it's the reason they were discovered. Suddenly, Delvin notices a sausage sticking out of Mickey's pocket. Everyone realizes he's hiding something, but Mickey insists that this is his place and that he has the right to keep something for himself. While the others nibble on more beans, Eva asks if anyone has brought food to Marilyn. Clearly, no one cares about her, so Eva takes the initiative, bringing her cans and trying to comfort the woman. But Marilyn responds, saying that Wendy was the only thing that mattered in her life. The group then begins debating whether they should go search for Wendy. Nikki and Bobby oppose the idea, but surprisingly, Josh decides to put on one of the attackers' suits and see what's happening outside. The survivors open a door and are stunned to find enormous plastic tunnels extending from it. The group returns to the shelter, while Josh presses on. Eventually, one of the tunnels leads him to a laboratory, where several people in protective suits are working. Josh looks around and spots a container filled with Wendy's cut-off hair. As he ventures deeper into the laboratory, he discovers capsules containing children. Suddenly, one of the lab workers notices Josh's strange behavior and decides to check his documents. Josh manages to escape, shooting several of the attackers along the way, but loses his weapon in the process. Back at the shelter, Josh nervously recounts what he saw outside and apologizes to Marilyn for not saving her daughter. Meanwhile, strange noises come from the door. The lab workers are welding it shut from the outside, ensuring no one can interfere with them again. Days pass, and the survivors gradually adjust to their life in confinement, going about their routines. John begins to notice symptoms of radiation sickness, despite having left the shelter in a protective suit. One day, Eva visits Adrian, who is almost fully recovered from his injury. She recalls how, before the disaster, they were neighbors, and she used to enjoy listening to him play guitar. Eva wants to kiss Adrian, but they're interrupted by Sam. Meanwhile, the bodies of the strangers left in the bunker begin to decompose, creating significant discomfort for the survivors. Nikki suggests they chop up the bodies and flush them down the toilet. Delvin thinks they could try opening the door and dragging them out, but Nikki responds that it's sealed shut for good. The survivors have no choice but to accept Nikki's suggestion, and Bobby agrees to do the dirty work. Trying to cope with loneliness and distract herself from her thoughts, Marilyn starts an intimate relationship with Bobby. One night, Delvin goes to the bathroom and notices that Mickey's secret room is open, but Mickey is nowhere to be found. However, as Delvin begins to relieve himself, he hears Nikki entering the room. He demands an explanation for how Mickey returned so quietly, but Nikki pushes him out. Delvin decides to tell the other survivors what he saw. Soon, they all search Mickey's room, and each finds something of their own among his things, meaning the commander had been entering their apartments when they weren't home. After a while, an angry Mickey appears at the door, reminding them that entering his room is forbidden. Delvin, who has found his ball, demands to know why Mickey took it, but Nikki refuses to answer. From then on, Mickey's room becomes a shared space, and his TV helps ease the dull days of the survivors. Meanwhile, Marilyn and Bobby are making love. It seems that Marilyn is no longer too concerned about the disappearance of her daughter. Later in the evening, Eva stops by and offers to listen to Marilyn as she wants to share anything. However, Marilyn suggests Eva focus on Josh, hinting that otherwise, one of the men will just use her. The words upset Eva, and she stops trying to help Marilyn. Soon after, the food supplies begin to run low. The men clash with Mickey, suspecting that he's hiding something, since he's the only one who hasn't lost weight during this time. Later, Josh and Bobby discuss how they might escape, since otherwise, they won't survive. But Adrienne reminds them that the door is impossible to open, and there's only one surviving protective suit, so escaping seems unlikely. At the same time, Eva notices Delvin pulling a stun gun from his locker and heading toward Mickey's room. Inside, Delvin sees Mickey coming out of a closet hidden behind an American flag and demands that Mickey let him in. Mickey has no choice but to comply with Delvin, and Delvin discovers that the closet is hiding an assault rifle. The find shocks Delvin, and Mickey, seizing the moment, grabs the weapon and shoots Delvin. Shocked, Eva calls for help. The group bursts into Mickey's room, demanding an explanation. Nikki insists he shot Delvin in self-defense because Delvin was trying to take his supplies and weapons. The survivors don't believe Mickey and knock him unconscious with a blow to the head, tying him to a chair. Josh and Bobby attempt to break into his storage room, but the lock opens with the code. Furious, Josh tries to point a gun at Mickey to force him to reveal the code, but Eva snatches the weapon from his hands and throws it in the toilet for everyone's safety. Bobby then begins to beat Nikki, but he still refuses to give up the code. Eva and the others beg him to stop, but Josh grabs a knife and cuts off Mickey's finger. Mad with rage, Josh threatens to chop off another finger, but Nikki finally gives in and reveals the code. Everyone heads to the coveted storage room, leaving Mickey tied to the chair. Soon, Marilyn, who has clearly lost her mind from the trauma, peeks in on him. The survivors discover a hidden stash of various food in Mickey's secret room, and Bobby declares that they need to kill Mickey, as he has been deceiving them all this time. Bobby drags Mickey to another room, cruelly taunting him while performing a trick with his severed finger, then defecates in the middle of the room. During dinner, Josh and Bobby continually humiliate and mock Marilyn. Eva can't stand their disgusting behavior and runs to the front door, desperately calling for help. Sam catches up with her, initially trying to calm her down but then attempting to take advantage of her. Eva manages to break free. Meanwhile, the deranged Marilyn applies bright makeup in a clumsy attempt to win Bobby's favor again. Feeling slightly calmer, Eva passes by what used to be Mickey's room and witnesses Bobby and Josh assaulting Marilyn. That night, exhausted Marilyn visits Eva and Sam, and they offer to let her stay with them. But then Bobby and Josh come for Marilyn and drag her back into the room. Let her go! Eva tries to protect the woman, but Adrian stops her. They exchange a glance full of obvious affection, which Sam notices. Bobby returns the bound Mickey to the others and declares that Eva needs to speak with Josh. Josh allocates some food to Eva and Sam, hinting that he would give her more if she agrees to sleep with him. Adrian demands an explanation for Josh's behavior, but he simply claims he's distributing the supplies to ensure everyone survives. Eva then gives Mickey some food and water from her share. Mickey reassures her that he intended to talk about the food once the initial supplies run out, to determine who they can trust and who they can't. Mickey asks Eva to lean in and whispers that there's a gun in his storage room that no one has noticed yet. Eva asks Sam to sneak in and retrieve the gun. Sam claims Mickey is lying, and even if the gun exists, they'll only anger Bobby and Josh further. Later, Sam joins Bobby and Josh, who force him to bark like a dog in exchange for food. Eva enters their room and sees the battered Marilyn, then asks Sam to step outside for a conversation. Bobby and Josh won't let Sam go and force Eva to join them for a game of truth or dare. Eva reluctantly chooses truth, and Josh asks if she loves Sam. She answers yes, then asks Josh if he enjoyed torturing Mickey. An enraged Josh insists he did not, and that he only tortured him because they had no other choice. Sam tries to defuse the tension, but Josh snaps and forces Sam to chop up Delvin's body. At first, Sam refuses, but Bobby and Josh humiliate him and force him to take the axe. However, when Sam approaches Delvin's body, he hesitates to make the first strike. Josh twists his arms, and with Bobby's help, they force Eva to chop the body instead of Sam. To save Sam from further torture, Eva reluctantly agrees. Meanwhile, Josh's radiation sickness progresses. His hair starts to fall out, and he decides to shave his head. Then, he shaves Bobby, who begins showing the same symptoms. Bobby starts losing his mind. He puts on a dress and tries to apply makeup to his face, desperately trying to bring some life back to his sickly appearance. Eva asks Mickey where the gun is. The man pleads for her to untie him, but she refuses. Suddenly, he declares that there is indeed an exit from the bunker. They can escape through the toilet. Eva goes to Mickey's room to retrieve the gun but is stopped by Bobby and Josh. They begin to harass her, but she manages to slip away from them, though unfortunately without the gun. She also discovers Marilyn's body on the bed, unable to survive the torment. Later, Eva notices her own hair falling out, realizing she's also sick. Understanding that the basement offers no protection from radiation and that there's nothing left to lose, she demands that Sam take the gun while she cuts off the power, distracting Bobby. Eva then heads to Josh. She pretends to be willing to give herself to him, luring him out of the room. Meanwhile, Sam sneaks in, but to his horror, he finds the storage room door won't open. Suddenly, Bobby appears behind him, revealing that they changed the code 2 weeks ago. Sam begs him to let him in and give him some food, but Bobby kisses him and starts to harass him. Bobby then claims it was all a joke and lets him into the storage room. Sam finds the gun but accidentally drops it in front of Bobby. Bobby bends to pick it up, but Sam suddenly shows resolve. He punches Bobby with all his strength, grabs the gun, and kicks Bobby out of the storage room, threatening to shoot him. Meanwhile, Josh starts to suspect Eva of deception. He beats her and tries to rape her, but she manages to stab him in the face with a pencil. However, he doesn't let her escape and starts to strangle her, but Adrian rushes in to help. Eva then sees that Sam managed to get the gun, but the surviving members of the group start surrounding him, each trying to distract him and grab the weapon. Eva screams for Sam to hand the gun to Adrian, someone he can trust, but out of jealousy, Sam shoots him instead. Eva rushes to Adrian, while Josh and Bobby viciously beat Sam. Josh demands Bobby shoot Sam, but then Bobby unexpectedly aims at Josh's head. At that moment, Eva grabs a can of food, slashes Bobby's throat with the lid, and takes the gun. She begins freeing Mickey. Josh chases after her, but Mickey shoots him just in time. Suddenly, the wounded Josh smashes an oil lamp in front of him, and flames engulf him. While Mickey and Sam try to extinguish the flames, Eva runs out of the room and locks herself in the storage room, where she dons a protective suit and gathers supplies. The men try to open the door, but only Bobby and Josh know the new code. They beg Eva not to leave them trapped in the fiery hell, but she doesn't respond. Eva makes her way through the sewage pit and soon finds herself in the middle of a ruined New York City. But even though she managed to escape the basement, she knows she is still doomed. Do you think it's possible to maintain your humanity in such terrifying conditions? Or does the fight for survival turn anyone into a monster? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. Hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.